Hello plant friends, hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy. In this episode, I try to tackle this complicated question, seemingly simple but actually pretty complicated question of, do houseplants, indoor houseplants, do they really clean the air? Where did this idea come from, and what is the research or the evidence behind it, and is it even true? Where did this concept of houseplants cleaning the air come from? So I have it right here. It came from this paper. This study's title is Interior Landscape Plants for Indoor Air Pollution Abatement. This is the study that basically started it all, right? Like if you look at any of those articles that says that houseplants clean the air, it came from this study. This article was from 1989. 1989, a NASA study started this whole houseplants clean the air thing. So first, the question to be asked, why did NASA do this study, right? Like, are they really into houseplants? No, right? But NASA, space, right? Like if you're talking about a space environment, a closed space environment, you sort of need to find good ways to keep the air clean. That's the reason why NASA sort of did this study, right? They wanted to find other ways to help clean the air. So what the NASA researcher did, or at least, the researcher of this study, is that he went to his local plant nursery, picked out a couple plants, and used those for his experiment. Bamboo palm, Chinese evergreen, English ivy, ficus, a couple dracaena, peace lily. Hearing these names, you're like, oh, those are really common plants. And also, like, I'm sure a lot of our local plant nurseries carry these type of plants. And it's like, wow, isn't that a coincidence that the plants that clean the air are the ones that are available in our local nurseries, right? This is why. He didn't let's choose plants from, different regions or different habitats. Let's choose tropical plants or desert plants or cacti. He basically just went to the local nursery and picked out some plants. It's funny because he notes that Miracle-Gro fertilizer was used to keep the plants alive, was used to keep the plants in a healthy condition for this project. Right, so this project excuse me, this project lasted 2 years, and they used Miracle-Gro. Just saying. So what they did, essentially, was that they put each of these plants in a closed plexiglass container, and they put some, chemical products in there, and the products are, I think they said, were benzene, formaldehyde, and there's another trichloroethylene, were the air pollutants that they injected into this closed environment. And then at different intervals, I think it's like 6 and 24 hours, they tested the air, and they saw how much pollutant was in there. They calculate percentages of how much was removed, and then they also did a ratio between how much was removed to how big the plant is, or the amount of surface area on the leaf and stuff. So they did all these fancy calculations that basically all scientific studies sort of do. So what were the takeaway points? The takeaway points was that a lot of these plants did remove the air toxins. Basically all the plants did. It seems that a lot of the cleaning, the air cleaning, is actually done by microorganisms in the soil. There's some part that's probably the plant, but it seems like it's highly suggestive that a lot of the air cleaning is actually done by the microorganisms in the soil, or at least on top of the soil layer. Okay, so I think if we're asking the question, do plants, or do these indoor house plants remove chemical or harmful air chemicals, the answer is yes. Okay, if we're asking, do they reduce harmful chemicals in your house, The answer to that seems to be no. Um, right, which really is a little bit confusing. But we have to like realize that this NASA study studied these plants in a closed environment. Your house is not a closed environment, right? Like you have windows open, you have air leaks here and there, right? Like it is not a small closed environment. The studies that sort of extrapolated the NASA findings and did plants in a more open environment showed that, you know, really with like a draft and the air exchange, really these, you know, these numbers and these reductions in air pollutants, they're really just totally negligible. It doesn't matter. is ultimately what those future studies, you know, after this NASA study showed. So do, you know, houseplants clean the air? Yes. Or reduce or pull, you know, harmful chemicals from the air? Yes. Does it reduce the amount in your house? No. I think that, you know, when we're thinking about improvement of air quality, improvement of, you know, reduction of air pollutants, what we really want to know is that are these indoor houseplants, are they helpful to our health? Are they benefiting our lung health or reduction of respiratory or pulmonary disease? And the answer to that is definitely no. The answer, it's no, because there has not been anything that I know of or heard about or read that shows that, you know, there's a link between indoor houseplants and reduction of pulmonary lung conditions. And that's kind of where we are. That's kind of what the evidence shows right now. And I can tell you that it seems like when I did my literature search, there has been quite a few studies regarding this. And is it a bummer? Yes, it's sort of a bummer. It's you know, I think everyone wants it to be true, but unfortunately, this public idea that indoor houseplants really improves air quality in the living space is predominantly false. However, I think if ultimately we're thinking about, you know, do plants improve our health, you know, globally or as a whole, I think there's lots of research that shows the answer to that is yes. I think that there are a lot of studies that show that indoor houseplants or plants or gardening reduces stress, anxiety, depression, you know, improves mental health. I think the caveat to that is that unless you're being more stressed and anxious about keeping your plant alive, that you're more stressed overall than the reduction that the plants actually give you. All right, so I think that's it for this episode. I hope that was a little bit more clear about right. Till next time, happy planting.